Thanks for joining us for Elko Live today. It's time to go outdoors with Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator Julie Gabrielson joins us in studio today for a monthly update. Julie, great to see you, and what an incredible summer we've already had, and there's still more to come.
Yes, I know it. We're not even, I think we're just now at about halfway through, right?
Right.
It has been so incredibly busy, and it's been a great summer, really great summer. Not just with our programs, but just the weather. I don't know about you, but I love when it heats up. And I know some people are going to be out there saying, how dare you say that? But I really do love it when it heats up. I mean, you can kind of cool down when you need to, but it's really nice to be able to go outside and just really absorb all of that sunshine and just embrace every minute of it.
Yep. And there's that great contrast with our cool canyon evenings, and anytime you can get outdoors and enjoy by the water, for example, we have all that recreation and more.
We do. And we're pretty fortunate where even though we've got really warm summers down in the valley, we have some pretty easily accessible areas where we can go and cool down in, whether it be just getting in the waters down at South Fork or going up into the canyon and getting it at that higher elevation where it takes it down in the temperature just a little bit. So I absolutely love summer. And
I'm glad you mentioned that accessibility, because last week's Elko County Commission meeting was fantastic with the presentation by Mr. Jones. I think it is
Bobby Jones.
Yep. Bobby Jones. Yep. And our very own Caleb McAdoo. And it wasn't hard to sway county commissioners for that $15,000, but boy, what a difference it's going to make.
It's going to make a huge difference. And these free youth licenses, Bobby Jones was actually the brainchild on that whole idea. So to see it build and keep going like it has, it's really cool to see that for him and for us in general and for the youth in our entire state. So the youth combination license allows the holder to legally fish in Nevada for 1 year from the issuance of the date. That combination, the combination part of it comes once they've completed the hunter ed. So if you've got a child that's 12 and over that has not completed hunter ed, that license is only a fishing license. But once they finish that, then it does convert to the hunting and fishing license. So the youth combination licenses for 12 to 17-year-olds are normally sold for $15. And this new free youth license program allows these youth to get these licenses for free. It's all made possible through the generous donations of all different kinds of donors. And Elko County just jumped on board as a big contributor for that as well. So we can't thank them enough, and we encourage everybody to go out there and take advantage of this.
Yep, it is the Nevada Youth License Fund. You can find out more about that online. It's not a giveaway because there is something that the youth contributes, as you said, in exchange. You take hunter ed. But Bobby Jones presented these amazing statistics about, the research that's been done about how many people want to enjoy the outdoors, but what kind of barriers there were.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't have any of those statistics right here with me, but he does share those with us, and they're really surprising. They're oddly surprising on some of those factors. And unfortunately, cost is one of those big barriers that some families do incur. So by reducing that for the families, then we allow them a little bit more accessibility to be able to get out there and enjoy our great outdoors that we have to offer.
And this really is the beginning of what could be a nationwide initiative, Julie, because the goal is, of course, to get young sports, youth out into the outdoors. It enhances conservation, but we have people around the country ready to contribute. They've been contributing to this because it's just such a great idea.
And when we go to conferences and they hear that we started this, they're like, man, that's a great idea. And so other states are looking into doing something like this as well for their youth.
Yep. And I did appreciate too, Caleb said that with the conservation fund that this will create, because NDOW really thrives on the matching contributions.
All of our grants, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this goes toward that, the way it's structured, and then that can enhance things like our very own, they call it the 12th Street Pond.
Yes, our community pond, or is what it is at this point. We're hopefully, we have a planning meeting for that in August, so to see just how that's going to move forward. But yeah, there's different ways that it's going to benefit us, and And it's really just great. Such a great program.
Yep, very exciting. Yep. Happy to help along the way. So moving on to the next topic that is actually complements this first subject, the Nevada Youth Outdoor Expo.
Yeah, so the Nevada Youth Outdoor Expo is happening this weekend, actually. So yeah, that's happening this weekend out at the Elko Reservoir. It's the first annual Youth Outdoor Expo, and it's organized by the Nevada Trappers Association. They're going to have fishing, shooting, archery, and trapping demos, camping, free food, t-shirts, prizes, fun, and games. For more information on that, you're going to contact Joe Bennett Sr. at 775-289-0417 or Neil Cheney at 775-962-3361. Again, that is happening this weekend. So you're short on time with getting a hold of these folks, but it might be worth your time to dial in on that and see if it's an option for you guys to go out and participate this weekend.
Where is Illapa?
That's down outside of Ely.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay.
Another outside of Ely.
Great adventure that you can have. And then you'll be on hand, or NDOW will be, for our National Night Out.
Yes, we will be. And that's Tuesday, August 6th. And that's going to be at the Elko City Park. You can meet a game warden, learn about, and even maybe possibly a biologist, I think we have scheduled to be out there. And you can learn especially about the game wardens and what they do and how their role in law enforcement rolls over into wildlife as well as throughout the state of Nevada.
All right. So expect a lot of great fun there at National Night Out, Tuesday, August 6th in the main city park.
Yep.
And the wild readings are continuing. I know the librarians really appreciate this.
Yeah. And it's a really cool program. Nicole St. John, she gets it together with the Elko County Library. And each month there's a reading that features a nonfiction story on a specific species of Nevada wildlife. It also includes a hands-on activity. She'll frequently bring some skins and skulls with it, as well as an actual craft of some kind that the kids will do after the book is read. It's the last event of the summer, is happening August 7th at 1 p.m., and it's featuring our Nevada moose. So how exciting is that? For more information on that, you can call 777-2391. That's Nicole St. John with Department of Wildlife, or you can call the county library at 738-3066.
Julie Gabrielson's our guest with Nevada Department of Wildlife. And as you mentioned, summer is only half over, still lots more fun, but people are thinking about game.
It's happening, yeah, because hunting season opens on August 1st with archery, antelope, and elk. Archery deer starts on the 10th of August, and it really just grows from there and goes through like late December and into January with some of those later hunts. Trail cameras must be removed from the field by July 31st. Bird seasons start very soon as well, usually around the beginning of September. And those upland game regs are online, but they're not back from the printers yet, so we don't have the books on those yet. But yeah, hunting season is right on top of us.
So we can expect operations to be busy both in person and online?
Yes, absolutely. Return tag forms, those can be downloaded from the website. However, they must be done in person. You got to bring the tag, and then you can either bring the form in with you or fill out a form at the office itself. But those must be received in person and at least one day prior to the opening of the season. First-time children's licenses, make sure you have their Social Security number available with you as well in order to create the account for that license and that account to be created. They do have to have that Social Security number. Also, all motorized boats that must have a title and registration. Remember, on those yard sale boats, if they don't have paperwork, you probably want to walk away from it. The trailer itself goes through DMV, though. The boat goes through Department of Wildlife, and the trailer goes through DMV. If you are successful and were successful at drawing a tag and have misplaced it or didn't receive it, you can purchase a duplicate tag by filling out the lost tag affidavit. And again, just call the front office for more information on how to do that. That number is 777-2300. And HIP surveys, they can be completed from your online account, or again, you can call the front office. The gals up front are really, really good about helping out and are happy to do so. And then the small game guide generally comes out about the third week of August. But like we said a little bit ago, they're not out in print yet, but you can find them online.
Cool, Julie. Well, and next we'll talk about diversity and da-da-da-da. You do have a name for the snake in the office, and that seems like an obvious. That's very cool.
It is pretty cool. And it was actually one of Mackenzie Jeffress's one of her little girls that came up with the name. Ruby is a perfect name for our rosy boa. The rosy boa is actually not something that you would find up here in this region, but you can find them in the southernmost part of the state. And so they are a Nevada snake, just not overly common up here. It is, and you can come into the office anytime. We do have it enclosed. It's contained in the office, and you can come in and see Ruby for yourself and see what she's like.
Very nice. Good to have a little company there for the office staff.
Yeah, she's right in between the fish tanks, so I don't know if we're tempting her or what we're doing there. Teasing her.
Mesmerized, I'm sure. Oh,
yeah.
And you're getting a lot of calls about baby birds.
Yeah, it's still baby bird season, and we do get quite a few calls about fledglings each week. And under most circumstances, those fledglings should be left alone. The parents are likely nearby and still caring for the bird, even though they might have fallen out of the nest, whether willingly or unwillingly. And again, just really important to leave them alone. The parents will actually they'll continue to bring them the feed and the nourishment that they need until they're ready to take flight on their own. And usually if they have fledged on their own from their nest, it's usually just within a couple of days for those final feathers, the flight feathers, to come in and be able to, go out and do their own foraging. However, there are cases that those baby birds are blown out of the nest with some of the local storms that we get and the hotter weather. That can cause an added stress to them if they do fall out of that nest and they're not quite ready yet. So there are some circumstances that we do need to intervene, but under most circumstances, we want to let them be where they're at, because then the parents can still find them and still help them. And the biggest thing is to just stay away from the area that they're in and try to keep any pets away from them as well. And again, there are some times that we do need to intervene if there's like significant danger for the fledgling or pets that just cannot be kept away from that area. And then there's some others as well. But the big thing is if you do come across something like that, give us a call and we'll walk through what the options are there. But most of the time, it's best to just let nature take its course.
All right. Thanks, Julie, for the tips there. And as always, you can just call 775-777-2300. Endow has great resources on their YouTube channel as well.
We do.
And we know Nevada Outdoor School, California Trail Interpretive Center have been partners in taking some tours, some guided tours for people to see and understand bats.
Yeah, we did have one last month, and it was really a big hit. And some things to think about with bats in our area is it's the time of year where the younger bats are starting to fly. They're starting to take that flight, and which means that they're going to start dispersing and start looking for other areas to roost. If you start seeing bats roosting in areas like the eaves of your homes, screen doors, on trees, in most cases, you just need to leave the bat alone. They should move on in a couple days. Usually they're not there for any long and lengthy amount of time. And again, just like the fledgling birds from their nests, keep any pets away from it and just let it be. We're most concerned when bats are out in the open and moving around during the daytime, and if they're on the ground. If they're just hanging out on the ground, that's when we're most concerned, and that's when we might suspect a sick bat. Keep in mind that most bats do not have rabies and are really hugely beneficial to the ecosystem. But if you find one that you're questioning, this is a little odd, this doesn't fit the all of the things that I've heard about what we should be looking for, or if you know of a bat roost, you can reach out to a website called packwestbats.org, or you can also call us here at the office at the 777-2300 number. And again, we can help walk through all of it and see what we've got going on.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Julie. We do want to remind folks about recreating safely out there on our public spaces and sharing and being good stewards. And so that includes any number of items under this category.
There's a lot under that category because it covers from one spectrum to another. Some things to remember, I did mention it just a little bit ago with trail cams. Our trail cam regulation does require that all trail cameras be pulled from the field by August 1st. They're not allowed out on the landscape between August 1st and December 31st every year. So make sure you get out there and get those pulled so that you don't run into any issues with that. Another thing is deadhead pickups. You know, some folks will be out there, they're hiking around, they're scouting, whatever they may be doing, and they might come across big game that has died naturally or unnaturally. And they've got, you know, a nice set of antlers or something that they want to pick up. There are regulations behind that. So before you pick one of those up, you do need to call the office or the game warden dispatch numbers and get that approval and that permission to remove that before taking it from the field. That permission and approval, and that kind of looks like sending them GPS coordinates. They might actually get you on the phone with the warden where you can talk through and send them pictures back and forth, do some video of what the scene looks like. Sometimes they'll tell you, you need to leave it there. We're going to go investigate it. And then they'll call you back and give it to you. Sometimes they might have to seize it. Sometimes they might tell you, go ahead and pick it up and bring it into the office and we'll look at it further in the office. So make sure you call ahead of time before pulling one of those deadheads out of the field.
Yeah, you don't want to get implicated in something you weren't even aware of.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then safety first. I know looking at the booking sheets, it seems as though we've had some arrest of folks who are like boating under the influence this season.
Yeah, and that's actually a thing. I mean, that's something that people, they don't always realize that they do go hand in hand. You're operating a motor vehicle. It's just a different type of motor vehicle at this point. It's on the water. So no drinking and driving when you're operating or operating the boat. So no drinking and operating the boat. Wear your life jacket. You know, paddle boards and kayaks, they are also, you also need the PFDs on those. We do have and see fatalities every year because these watercrafts and the handlers and users of them haven't been using the PFDs, and they could 100% be avoided most of the time. So PFDs are required for anybody 12 and under on the boats. And then a PFD per person on the boat is required as well. So if you've got 12 people on the boat, you need to have 12 readily available PFDs for those folks on the boat with you. OHV use on public lands, not only is it a safety thing, but also a courtesy. Make sure that you're staying on existing trails, 2 tracks. With these storms, we kind of see some really muddy roads and then some really dry roads. So be aware of what you might encounter while you're out there. Recreate responsibly. Maybe even use the quads that you were born with, which I love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's like, oh yeah, and you can feel the burn.
Yes, you can feel the burn. Sometimes that burn is more than you want, but it's a good burn. And make sure that you've got all of the equipment that you need while you're out there. Make sure you've got jacks if you get a flat tire, or and we'll go a little bit more into fire safety once we start talking about habitat, but all the extra tools that you can have, water, shovels, fire extinguishers, all of those things are really essential to make sure that they're in good working order before you hit the trails.
Perfect. And then if you do have any concerns, I mean, we've talked about leaving gates the way you found them so that you can protect, cattle, for example. But if you do have concerns, there is Operation Game Thief, which you can call 24/7.
You can. And that number is 800-992-3030. And that's anonymous. You can give your name if you want to, but it is anonymous if that's the way that you choose to go as well. We do recommend if you ever see anything a little sketchy going on out there, don't approach what it is that you're seeing. Take really good notes, license plate numbers, video, pictures, whatever it is that you can to get to us, and then let our game wardens do the investigation from there.
Sounds good. Another favorite topic from Nevada Department of Wildlife's Julie Gabrielson is fisheries.
Yeah, and last week, was it last week or the week before, we actually had a couple of really nice fish come into the office thinking that they would possibly break a water record, but one of them only missed it by 2 ounces by breaking that water record out at Wild Horse. The others were a little bit smaller than that, but they were all beautiful fish coming in. Summer heat has slowed some of the fishing down at the lower elevation lakes and reservoirs. But like I said, even last week, Wild Horse still had some really nice catches coming in. High lakes in the Rubies have been fishing really well. Anglers are reporting great catches of Mackinac at Liberty Lake and trout at Favre Lake, and that was just last week even. Trails are clear except for a couple of really short sections of snow in those deeper mountain lakes. I actually was up at Island Lake a week ago and then at Lamoille Lake just this last weekend, and there was no snow on any part of the trail, just to those two. Getting up towards Liberty and back into Favre and Castle, you might see a couple of those little strips. Something to think about right now, we've got the harmful algae blooms. You might hear them referred to as a HAB. Those are continuing in some of the area waters due to the really hot temperatures. And we'll go into this a little bit later about some of the things to look at and think about, especially with your pets when it comes to those algae blooms. One big thing to remember is if you are still fishing in an area that has one of those alerts out and warnings out, make sure you're rinsing your fish really well with fresh water, not from the lake water. Use a different source of water that's really fresh water, and cleaning them out really well. The water conditions out at Wild Horse were pretty poor over the last weekend because of the HAB. And if you suspect a HAB that we have not already put an alert out for or a warning for, you can call the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection. And that number is 888-331-6337. Just some things to think about. And so on those HABs, warm weather promotes the growth of that harmful algae, which can produce cyanotoxins that are harmful to pets. It can be found in lakes, ponds, standing water, bodies of water caused by flooding. Some signs of that exposure for your pet would be vomiting, diarrhea, bloody stool, seizures, disorientation, difficulty breathing. So those are just some things to think about. And ways to reduce that risk is keep your pets away from the blue-green algae water sources. They're normally pretty obvious when you're seeing them. Monitor the pets when you're outside. Keep them on a leash so that you know what they're getting into and what they're not getting into. Look out for the algae hazard signs, as well as research the spottings that might be in the area of where you're going to be recreating.
Yeah, do take those seriously. Again, they can be toxic, as you said, to pets, but also to people, make people really sick, and kids.
Yeah, and that's, really goes back to just caring for your catch the correct way afterwards too. And if you're in an area, if you're starting to fish in an area with one of those, move to a different area that doesn't have the significant bloom in it.
Perfect. So you can still get out there, but just avoid that area. And then some tips for anglers just to help preserve our fish and if you're doing catch and release, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So anglers, we always remind you to minimize the handling time of fish when you're planning to do any catch and release, especially in the warmer water. This is really important for the trout to be able to recover from that catch. So again, just minimize the handling. If you've got to take a picture, make it super quick. Don't keep them out of the water any longer than absolutely necessary for it. But ideally, release them as soon as you bring them in.
Yeah, those fish will have a good story to tell too.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought when I was a kid.
Yeah, they've got to go back.
Yes.
You can't believe what just happened.
Exactly. So talking, of course, about being good stewards and conserving our habitat, taking good care. We're all still so super cautious and concerned about fire season, Julie.
Absolutely. And according to the projections that we had earlier in the summer, later of our summer is going to be when we start seeing more of the significant wildfires. We've already had several small ones, but it is upon us, and fire restrictions are in place. The fuel loading across Nevada is really high because from the last couple of years of the precip that we've gotten. Many of the fires start along roadways and often from preventable situations. So going back to that fire safety and awareness, equip your off-road vehicles with spark arresters. Always carry a shovel and a fire extinguisher in your vehicle, extra water as well. Secure those trailer safety chains. Make sure they're not dragging on the ground in any way. Wrap them up, tape them up, whatever you got to do. Keep them from dragging on the ground, because those will create some sparks. Remove any brush from the undercarriage of your vehicle as you're moving around. Ensure that your tires and your brakes are in good condition, because that can also cause some heat and some sparks. Make sure all of your cigarettes are out completely. That's actually a big one, believe it or not, for the roadside fires. That plays a pretty big role in that, is throwing, flicking the cigarettes out the window and they're not even out. And then it's just enough to light that really dry habitat and get it going. No open fires on public lands except for the formal campsites. Fuel stoves are typically allowed, but must have the switch on them to be able to turn them off. So those are something that you can be using out there. If you see a fire, call it in to local dispatch to report it. The interagency fire dispatch number is 738-4000. And put it in your phone, put it in there to where you can easily find it and get it in the event that you do see something that looks like it's a fire start, and then we can get on top of it quicker.
Oh, thanks, Julie. That's all great advice. And again, it's just reiterating what we're hearing from our local fire officials like Matt Peterson from Elko County Fire Protection District, our local fire chief, James Johnston, and plenty of others. So it's going to take all of us. About half the fires are started by lightning as it is, which we can't control.
Right.
But we can control what we're contributing to that as well. And I guess in just maybe the closing time that we have, Julie, a lot of people are enjoying the outdoors and they're visiting places, like Spring Creek Marina, and they're still having animal encounters, right? And animals get stressed in the summer heat just like people do.
For sure, and especially if they find themselves in a position where they're more dependent on what humans might have been doing for them through the winter and feeding them and watering them. So keep in mind, the best thing is to just leave them alone. We don't want to feed them. We don't want to provide them those resources that they need to be finding naturally, so that we don't inhibit their ability to find it on their own. We're going to have encounters. We live in an area where we're rural. I mean, sometimes we don't feel so rural anymore, but we still are a very rural environment and community. So it's important to keep in mind that wildlife is going to be there, whether it be a ground squirrel in your backyard, a badger moving through, deer coming in to eat off your bird feeder. They are there, especially in our raptors, owls in the trees overhead. There's all different ways that we're going to encounter wildlife out here, and embrace it. And love it, and find the best way that it's going to benefit your home, whether it be a large fence or sitting on the back porch and watching them. It is going to be what it is, and we're going to have those encounters, and there's lots of ways out there to mitigate it.
Yep, and just to enjoy them, but do it from afar.
Yes. And yes, absolutely. I saw a really great post recently. It was actually kind of comical, but it was also very, very well done. And I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what agency had posted it, but it was basically you hold your arm straight out from you, and you put your thumb up, and if the animal can be covered and not seen between, from your vision behind that thumb, you're at a fairly safe distance from it. If you can see any part of that animal behind that thumb, you need to move back and step back further.
And that's such a cool analogy, because in the fire department, we use that too for hazardous materials.
Yes.
If you could see the hazmat around your thumb, it's like, you're too close.
Yep, you're probably too close.
You're probably downwind and too close to that. So amazing.
So the rule of thumb actually plays out in many, many aspects.
Yes, it does. So keep hold of your kids. Again, enjoy the wildlife, learn about them, appreciate and respect them. And I know you love hiking with your dog and maintain control of your animals. I bet your dog's super behaved, and so but you take the leash just in case.
I have a leash. I also have a training collar on her.
Perfect.
So even though she rarely leaves my side, she always has that as well. And so it's encouraged to do that for, whether you've got a really well-behaved dog or not, have those resources with you.
Yep. Thanks, Julie. And we so appreciate the time that you give us here on the radio show once a month, you and your staff, making this information available. Again, the goal is, just like we started out with at the top of the program, is to encourage people to enjoy and embrace. And you don't have to be a sportsman or woman to do that. There are plenty of ways to enjoy the wildlife without being a part of the harvest. but the harvest is done in this way that conserves the species and that people can respect and understand and then create their own family legacy and culture. It's a very important part of a lot of Western tradition.
It is. It absolutely is. And, whether you're part of the conservation side of it or not, or just truly appreciating it from a different view as a bird watcher or from behind the binoculars, it all plays a role.
Mm-hmm. And you can find out more by taking that hunter education class. Those are great.
We do have one. It should be opening up for registration here in the next couple of days, and we do have one scheduled for August 23rd. It is a small class because it's also going to be a shooting class where they can bring their own shotguns, and they'll get an opportunity to test their new skills and their new knowledge from the early part of the class and actually do some trap shooting.
Nice. Hands-on. Perfect.
Very hands-on.
All right. So get details at NDOW 775-777-2300.
That's it.
All right, Julie. Yep. Thank you so much again for the time. Julie Gabrielson, Nevada Department of Wildlife Conservation Educator, our guest here on Elko Live today.